And hello everyone, welcome to the Creative Screen Time Stop Motion, and this video I am going to show some behind the scenes for I'm about to shoot a stop motion video with these two fellas here, and I'm just going to show you a behind the scenes of how I do it, and also I'm going to show you the difference with a static camera and using dynamic camera angles. So the difference with a static camera is the camera just stays up in one place, and then you animate all the characters and you take the frames while that's happening. And then dynamic camera is when you're actually taking these at key points, for whatever reason you choose to, you can do close-ups of characters. And I will show you the difference with the two between a static camera stop motion and also a dynamic one, just so you can see the differences, and then that will give you a good idea of when you should use a dynamic camera and just pretty much how to go about it. And that way, at least when you're doing your storyboard in the future, you'll get a pretty good idea of drawing those dynamic cuts, camera cuts, into your storyboard, and it will make it really much easier for you to actually start planning your shooting, having the storyboard as a blueprint to follow. So with that, I'll show you the pieces that I have for this little thing I'm doing. So the first time I tried stop motion using my phone, I did a quick little skit with these two characters, and it was just all randomly done very quickly on my dining table. So it turned out pretty well, but it could have been much nicer. So I'm coming back to try it again because I thought the skit was pretty funny, and it's a very quick one as well. So this time I've ramped up the production of it, and I've brought some props and also some background things as well. So I will set that up, and then I'll show you what that looks like after I come back. And I am back and ready with my setup. So I have a phone stand that I've made by myself. It's in a video after this, and I will show you how to do that. But just to really quickly go through the pieces with you and what I've done. So I just have a cutting mat that I've turned upside down. There's just any plastic mat too. You do not need any of these things, just as a reminder, but this is just what I'm using in case you're wondering. These cardboard road pieces is from an old tabletop board game that my brother owns, and it's pretty old. For some of you old enough to know what it is, you may have used to have it. There's a flashlight that I'll be using for one particular special effect, which you can see later on. And then all these Lego cars belong to my brother. I actually don't have any Lego aside from these two guys here. And this backdrop is just hand-drawn on an A4 piece of paper. And then I've laminated it and cut them out. And I've used this for cutout stop motion, which you will see in a video later on. So with that, I will start filming and we'll take a look afterwards. So I have just finished filming with the static stand, and I've just held the camera up there pointing, and it has turned out pretty well. So I've also just quickly done the voice acting in this as well, because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to copy this file, as I will show you how. Go to select up here or hold down the image, and this blue menu will pop up, and I want to press this icon here, which is copy, and now it's done. So now there's two of these, and with this one I'm going to cancel this, go into this, save it as a new name first. So I'm just going to press this one. The text here will let me save it. Static is what I named the first one, and this second one I'm going to call dynamic. Dynamic. Done. So now I have two files, one of static camera and dynamic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this one, and I'm going to go in the scenes where I can place a dynamic camera angle shot, and I'm going to replace that with the frames that are just staying there with static, and then you can see the difference with what I've done. So just a reminder, you do not need to do this if you're going to film it all dynamic in the first place, but it may help depending on the situation and the shots you're trying to get. But I will show you what I've done, and if there are particular scenes which I think is better to do it after you shoot it or as you do it. So I'll do that now, and I'll come back and show you the results.
Whoa, look! It's one of those rare midi-chlorian peoples. Photos or it didn't happen. Get me angry. Get me angry. Not that angry, you twit. I'm just joking. This is the way.
So I've just finished shooting some of the dynamic angles. It didn't turn out as well as I thought it would, just because the camera on this phone doesn't focus so closely, so I can't get the good shots that I did when I tried it out with a normal camera the first time. But as you can see, the lighting's changing, sun's setting, so I've run out of light. And unfortunately, this might show in the final film, but I'm not sure. But just to quickly show you what I've done with this is, so at the start, instead of having a static camera shot and having the Joker walk in, I've decided this time by using this. As the Joker's walking down, to just pull the stand and take a shot every time to follow him. So that gives it a really nice movement. So just to give you an idea, so it's just pretty much, he's just walking along, and then once he gets to a point on the screen that I like, then the camera just follows him. And then there was one bit where I cut to the Joker walking in, and I did that because it was actually really hard to line back up the side view shot to how I had it in the original static camera, because I had moved the stand, and I think the stand's just buckled slightly, so I couldn't get the exact same angle again. So I had to try and trick a shot and do a cut, and that would allow me to jump from one scene to the next, and then it's harder to tell that the camera position's changed because I tried to match it up slightly. But anyway, you'll see the changes that I've made, and I'll make a commentary as well with stills, just to tell you what I've done. But before I do that though, I now need to go back into this one and see where the new frames come in, and then I have to delete the old frames, and then just match it up.
Whoa, look! It's one of those rare midi-chlorian peoples. Photos or it didn't happen. Get me angry. Get me angry. Not that angry, you twit. I'm just joking. This is the way.
So now that I have my two versions finished, I'm just going to show stills of both the static cut and also the dynamic cut, and just to explain the differences and why I did what I did. So we'll start with the static one first. So with the static cut, it's pretty straightforward. It's just got Joker walking down to the side, and then he does his greeting, and then he pulls up the camera and starts taking photos. Now, for the dynamic cut, I've actually started it very differently, and I focused it on the sign that the other character is holding first, because as it zooms out, this becomes a bit of an in-joke, and then that also gives it movement to how it zooms out and then it pans across, and then we get to see the other character walk in, and same thing, I wanted to give that more dynamic energy and have movement, so I am following the character across the screen. And also you'll see that I've also done a first person view where the character is walking into the screen and the camera is pointed the other way. I've done this because as it goes back out to the side view scene and the character is about to hold up the camera, I've had to try and match that side view to the original one that I used, and it was actually quite tricky because I had moved the camera already. So the only way I could cheat that was to cut a different shot, and that was by seeing it from the point of view of a different character. And that way I can go back from my first dynamic side view scene to the static one I filmed earlier, and it's harder to tell that the camera's moved. So we'll look at the static one again. So the rest of the static version, nothing much changes. It's just Joker pulls up the camera and starts taking photos. So now, before earlier, I was asking if everyone spotted where I used a flashlight, and that is exactly what I used it for. I used it to display flash on the characters, and also, yeah, just as if the camera was taking photos. And with the camera sound effect, which you can find from online for free for use, um, it really does make it look like it's camera flashing. So it's really, really great. So uh, taking photos, and then the other character holds up a gun, and Joker runs away and gets shot. So now we go to this dynamic cut, and I'll show you the differences that I made. So the next obvious cut is I have positioned the Joker taking photos in a first-person view for the other character, because I just wanted to show how pestering and annoying this character with the camera was, and that he was taking photos with the flash right in his face. And so putting the camera in that first-person view where it's the other person looking through their eyes, it really gets that across, that this person is in his face and they're really annoying. So then we continue some more, and then the rest of it's pretty much the same. He just points his gun up, and then the other character gets shot, and that's pretty much the end. But originally, I ran out of time, but what I wanted to do was, I actually wanted the bit where the gun was being lifted up, I wanted that to be from the Joker's point of view, and he was about to see what's going to happen. And then the other thing I wanted to do was, as Joker was running away, I wanted the barrel of the rifle to be pointing out from the bottom of the camera, so it definitely looks like it's in the other character's view, and just having him aim his arm around before he takes a shot. There are ups and downs about doing it that way, because doing it that way, you kind of see exactly too easily what happens. So in that regards, the static cut was a bit better because it showed it off screen, so you imagine for yourself what happened. So sometimes a static cut is also a good thing. It does work in its own way. But otherwise, pretty much use dynamic cuts for when you really want to express what a character is feeling, or if you want to focus on something physical that's about to happen. For example, with pointing the camera up, that was to show that that was what's going to happen and that it was in your face. And also my original idea for wanting to see a first-person view of the gun being held up, that was also the same thing. It's just to highlight those key physical scenes and to make the viewer aware that it's happening. But otherwise, play around again, as always. Try out static cuts and also dynamic cuts, and just see which ones work really well for you. And again, as mentioned, sometimes a static cut works best, depending on what you're trying to communicate. So have fun, and I'll see you in the next video. Hello everybody, this is Jason from KC Cardini Libraries again with another creative screen time stop motion segment. I hope you're all having fun with the current videos. And so this video is about making more different types of bases, going off on what Heidi has done, and this is just slightly more advanced techniques that I've worked out while I've been trying to make these videos. So the other method that I found that works really well is if you have like a plastic cup or a cardboard cup from anywhere at all, like a takeaway place, then you can also cut the cup in half and then just cut notches that are the exact same length on both sides, and then just keep those in there because they can use as a tiny bit of support as well. And I found that works really well. And so the reason why I've also cut one side lower is so the camera can balance a bit better, leaning a bit downwards, and also so I still have access to the buttons on the screen. So I'll just give you a look at that. So that's basically it. So if I were to go back on the pre-made video that I already have, you can still see I can still move the frames around, which is pretty important. and I can still access all the other buttons. And so the other type of base that I've made is I've used Lego blocks. So you're probably thinking, what is this strange contraption? In all honesty, I've run out of all the pieces that I really need. I needed more of these flat ones, just so I could join this base together, have it be wide enough to hold the phone so it doesn't fall off, and also so that it can hold the camera up and not get in the way. So I do recommend using a blob of blue tack anywhere inside, and then just sit your phone in there. And blue tack just so it doesn't slide around, because the phone would be very slippery, and so would the plastic. So if I were to press the play record button, so you will see that works really well too. And in this way as well, I can also do panning shots that would keep really, really smooth and the camera really steady. So that works really well. Just be careful for a setup like this. So I wanted to use narrower blocks, because if this was actually any more to the left, the wide angle camera lens would actually start picking up these blocks, and we don't want that. So design something that's going to hold up your phone and not block the camera. And so I was after a narrower piece down here as well, just again, so I can move the frames around. As you can see, that's probably a bit tricky. So I might just need to move this a little bit more to the right and make sure that the camera is not going to show anything extra. See that it's down there. You can see a bit of the block. So if you have a narrower piece as to stop the block, to block the phone, then that'd be much better to stop it from tilting down. But otherwise, if you wanted to make these higher or lower, it's very simple. If you have any old books around or any DVDs or things like that, just use them. And there you go. Now you're on the higher field, and you can just take each one off to change the height. And accidents like that do happen, so be very careful to change the height. Okay, so now what happens if you want to film something from the top straight down? So a very simple solution, and this works for other types of videos as well. So if you're trying to film something from the top down, maybe because you want like a bird's eye view of the cars going past, or people running along, or you're doing a 2D cutout motion thing that needs to be flat and you need a camera pointing down, just have a box of some sort and get a ruler. I'll move the box in closer so you can see what's going on. Get a ruler that sticks out as far as you need. So the further out it goes, the heavier your object should be. So again, I'm just going to use my random stack of books and DVDs to hold it up. And you can feel that's pretty solid for how far out I need it to go. And I've just put a couple of blobs of blue tack on here as well. And now all I do is place my phone, being aware of where the camera is and that it's not going to get blocked by the ruler. And I just press that down onto the blue tack. Now if I were to push that back in so I can film, there you go. Now I can film the cars driving up and have a very steady camera to do it while I'm doing it. And same thing, if you find that that's too low, have a larger box or put more books and things on top, and also just put the ruler on top of the books, etc., and put more books on top of that. So you can always keep adjusting the height. Just be careful about making some Leaning Tower of Pisa thing where all your books are going to fall over, or your boxes. That would be not so good, and they'll probably wreck your shot. Another method is if you have a drawer or shelf space of some sort that hangs over an area, like maybe even a desk, a study type place that has shelves where you can stick out a ruler and put the camera down, that's even better. Again, just put something heavy on top to balance it off and to hold the ruler down. But otherwise, I'm sure there are many, many, many other ways to make camera stands for your phone that you can just do from home. And have a good think about it if none of those methods work for you. But otherwise, keep playing around, have some fun, and I'll catch you in the next video.